Okay, we're live. We're going to try this again. I just tried to do the stream for the Anycubic Chiron review, and it was much fancier because I was going to do it through OBS, and we were going to be so very happy about it, and it didn't work. So, first and foremost, the Anycubic Chiron is the 400 by 400 by 450 3D printer model a few months ago, and I wanted to make sure that I had at least 1,000 hours of print time on it before I brought my opinion to you. The first thing is that the service after the sale has been excellent. One of the things I had talked about during the boxing video and the assembly video was that I was concerned about the power wires coming off the build plate, and I was worried that they were going to fail me. Well, as it turns out that it did in fact fail me. The silicone wire where the zip ties come together, the wire was actually bending like this constantly. And as it was bending, it was breaking one strand of that power filament or that copper filament, whatever, the wire. It was breaking one strand at a time until eventually it was causing an intermittent short. And so I was getting power sometimes and I was not getting power other times. So that made things very difficult and very awkward for 3D printing. The Anycubic Chiron uses a ultra base, which is I'm presuming a proprietary type surfacing that they use on their build plate to maximize your adhesion during the printing process. Now, if you're like me and you print at 60 degrees Celsius on your heated build plate with PLA, that's not a problem. However, if you should lose power in the middle of a print and your build plate cools down to room temperature, you can pretty much count on the fact that you lost that print. So, yes, it does have a resume feature, and I have tested it. It has not worked for me because of the Ultra Base system. Hello, Brian. So, thoughts. If you're concerned about the resume feature, hello, Mr. Buttram. Resume makes it zoom again? Okay, so anyway, if you are concerned about a resume feature on your printer, if you're doing long-term prints, I would recommend, number one, getting a UPS or an uninterrupted power supply to prevent the need for resume. If you're going to do or rely on the resume feature on the Anycubic Chiron, then I would recommend a different build surface than the Ultra Base. The Ultra Base, basically think of it as a whole bunch of little dots. Let's see if I have paper. So resume does not make it zoom again. Oh, okay, I understand now. Sorry. No, it does not make it zoom again. Okay, so let me get a pen or a pencil. A pen or pencil. Oh, and very Merry Christmas to everyone coming up very soon. The like holiday being festive today. So the Ultra Base, I'm going to draw a picture of exactly what this Ultra Base system is sort of like. This is my artistic interpretation of the Ultra Base. Okay, so on a standard build plate, okay, it's flat, okay? The only thing on the build plate would be your adhesive method of choice. So, like in my case, I'm trying not to flip my chair over. Good morning. I think I just saw Ron jump in. Good morning, Ron. Okay, so in normal circumstances, this Magic Goo, for example, or your 3D, what is it? Where is it? I have a glue stick around here somewhere. Those would be your normal, like everyday, let's, make it stick to my build plate. So for an example, because I like to show things by example, including empty chairs. All right, so this is your borosilicate glass, okay? You might have glass, you might have something else. on this is Magic Goo. So you can see that hazy kind of look to it. That's my build surface, which is on top of my borosilicate glass, okay? Now, some people are able to use glass and maybe borosilicate to print just naked. So it would be the transfer that where you see how shiny it is now. Okay. Some people can print on that just fine. I'm not one of those people. I always fail when I do that. When I first started with the FT5, it was fine, but I used mirror tile. It's very smooth, easy to print with. So where am I going with this? Because I'm getting wordy again. Ultra Base is like this. See, all these little circles represent your build surface. Okay, the Ultra Base doesn't have a flat surface. Ultra Base has a bunch of little tiny little circles, sort of. So when it heats up, those circles expand. Okay, so they get bigger. You know, the space gets smaller. It makes it for better printing surface, right? Gives you good adhesion. Well, when it cools down, those circles shrink. When those circles shrink and the space expands, all of a sudden you have gaps. So your part's going to go, it's going to release. So instead of having a part on your build plate that doesn't move around, now suddenly you have a part that goes, falls off. Okay, so illustration point. Okay, so that is why the resume feature doesn't work so well on the Anycubic Chiron, is because if you lose power for a sustained period of time, you basically lose the integrity of your build surface. So like Magic Goo will hold on to a part to an extent, but it may release. Magic Goo has a kind of a, when you heat it up, is good up until about like 40 or 50, and then it starts to release. So then that surface kind of goes, ah. So it's very similar to that. So the resume feature is really cool if it's a very short window of time. On a really large build platform like the 400 by 400 by 450, you're probably going to want to be printing big stuff. So if you're printing big stuff, that resume feature is valuable to you because you're not going to lose your part. But it's only valuable to you if you happen to be babysitting the part when you lose your power. And it's only valuable to you if you lose the power for less than a couple of minutes. So, wow. Anyway, good morning, Rover. So hopefully that particular part, yes, I like big stuff and I cannot lie. So hopefully that kind of explains the build surface portion and why there are a lot of people that don't like it and there's a lot of people that do like it. So, I mean, it's a great build surface. I like the build surface. I get really good parts out of it. I've printed many things. Well, the house, for example. Now, the house is a great example, too, about what that problem I was talking about is, can you Magic Goo your Ultra Base? Probably. I don't know that I would. Kind of the point in Ultra Base was that I don't have to put anything on it. Be like PEI or BuildTak or any number of those other products that are kind of existing just so you don't have to use a whole bunch of secondary products. Good morning, Mike. Magic Ultra Base. Magic Ultra Base. I can't talk today either. So moving into the next part, yes, the heated build plate. When you have intermittent power problems with your build plate, and you start doing that, you're going to have problems. I mean, you're not going to get good adhesion. Your part's going to try and drift. And the next thing you know, when it's trying to put a layer down, your part's going around with the nozzle. So, and I have had that happen. So, but yeah, the problem I had with this printer was exactly what I said it was going to be. You know, there was a pinch point. I actually rewired it because I couldn't be without a printer running. So I needed to have that. So I actually went with a higher gauge wire. So the gauge wire they use on this, I think, is a, I don't know, maybe a 12 or 14. And I used a 10. So it's a much bigger power wire going from the power supply. There we go. That sounds dirty. Oh, what did I miss? Oh, okay. All right, so what else do we got? My other things that I really love about this printer, okay, is the leveling system. When I first started using this printer, I did not quite grasp the auto bed mesh leveling system that they have. Okay, they have a system in place that allows you to automatically level your bed. Very clearly, I want to make sure that you understand this. Okay, you have a large build surface. Okay, this is not a 150. This is not a 200. This is a 400 millimeter build surface. Okay, that means that whole, I'm stupid. Okay, so just bear with me. But like the thermal expansion, or any kind of imperfection that's going to be in the metal in your build plate is going to become very obvious when you heat it up. Okay, especially on a large build plate. So that means that when you're leveling your bed, you need to make sure that you are leveling your bed at the temperature that you plan on printing at. That being said, I have run the utility 4 to 6 times during the heat up process to make sure that my bed was temperature stable at what I thought was just a steady 60 degrees Celsius. So I think you could probably do it in less than that. But the first time I did it, the nozzle was just too high. So my temperature wasn't right. The second time I did it, the nozzle was a little better. The third time I did it, it was like spot on. So again, it really just depends. You're just going to have to screw with it for a little bit and make sure that you get your level. Okay, so you don't need to use the thumb screws on this build plate. The last time I tried to do a live stream level, it didn't come out exactly right, so I was printing a little too high. So my first layer wasn't depositing exactly right, so I needed to run it again. After I ran it again, after letting the build plate warm up for probably about 8 minutes, I left it just sitting there warming up. It stabilized enough that it didn't vary. 2 degrees Celsius makes a huge difference on this build plate because it's so big. So that will affect your layer quality on your first layer, especially. So where we can say dirty but RAM all in the same sentence, you can. This is Vegas. Well, no, it's not. That would be bad because that would imply that nobody else could see this. But other people can see this. All right, so once you get your leveling done, you get these really cool prints. These are they look like really big targets. That's why I haven't thrown them out yet. And these ones are so you can actually print them, and they have letters and numbers on them, or numbers, I think. Hold on, let me find them. Or registration marks. Yeah, they have registration marks at different points along here. I'm not even going to try and show you that because I don't even think you can read that. I guess the point is, I mean, they go through the whole tutorial on how to do it and all that. I'm horrible about reading directions. So the fact that this printer even works is amazing. But you can kind of mic the distance between these points, and you should come up with about that number that they're showing you there. So, but yeah, it's a good print. Plus, you can like mic the thickness all the way around this to see if your layers are precise enough. It does take a while to print this, just so you know. But it is a cool print, and it's clever, and it does take up probably 98% of the build volume to do that. Okay, so what else? So yes, the dual optical lead, or the dual optical Z or Z sensors, those are actually really cool. I guess it's not really much different than a mechanical end stop, but I like them. They don't click. They just kind of turn on and turn off. It's kind of neat for me. When you're doing the auto bed mesh leveling, which is, I think, 4, 8, 16, like 20, I think it's 20 or so points on the build plate. When you first put the probe on, you'll find out real quick if your gantry is level to the bed, because when the first time it goes down, that probe is going to hit that build plate if it's not exactly, like perpendicular. No, not perpendicular. What's a parallel level? Yeah. If those planes are not level with each other between the build plate and the gantry, it's going to hit on the left side and it's going to cause it to adjust itself. So that's kind of cool, but also really kind of off-putting when you first see it crash into your bed. It doesn't slow, if that makes you feel any better. So we seem to like slow and dirty on our channel. So let's see what else. So we've talked about the resume feature that does work. It's just not appropriate for this build plate if it's been too long. The mesh leveling system, the ultra base, the issues with the power wire, the support from Anycubic was great. I notified them that my build plate had, in fact, broke. They did ask me some silly questions about doing a resistance check to see if there was actually a break in the wire or if it was something else. Hello, Kelly. Welcome. And yeah, it was kind of silly, but I understand what they were coming at. For them, I just basically sent them back a email saying, look, the wire is broke. I took a picture of it because silicone wire at a 90-degree is not likely, at least not likely to occur unless there is a break in the wire, because silicone tends to be soft. So if you're bending a wire, even if it's, pretty stiff, it's still going to hold that kind of a radius to it. So when I showed them that, they're like, oh, we're sorry. And they sent me a replacement build plate, which is in here. And it is different than the build plate that I have on here. I would like to show you that, but it's not likely to occur. So I don't want to take it off again. It's level. So I do have a backup build plate. I think the reason I did that was, number one, to get the build plate working again, to show that I could do that. And if I can do that, you can do that, because I am stupid. Okay, you got to remember that. I like to break things for a reason. I don't follow directions, and I'm not the smartest. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I'm not the brightest bulb on the tree. And if I can do things like this, then you can do things like this. So, be here, aspire here kind of thing. But anyway, so what else do we got? The Bounine Tube. I did try to change it out with the Capricorn at one point. That didn't work out so well because I was using, inferior filament. Mr. Buttram says that he doesn't like to mess with stuff when it's working right either. And yes, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I know there's a lot of people that like to do their upgrades on their 3D printers. That's cool. I was like that when I had my ANAT, but now that I have the CR10S and the Anycubic Chiron, I'm kind of like, nope, I'd rather not do that unless I have to. So yeah, the Bounine Tube, the Capricorn didn't work out so well. I was getting jams in the nozzle, and I was getting a lot of stepper issues from the extruder, and that was because the Capricorn tolerance was just so precise that the filament was getting jammed up in the tube. So hello, Matt. So we got a lot of people in here today. Oh yeah, you're not supposed to say stuff like that on the stream, but I won't repeat it out loud. So yeah, the Capricorn tubing ended up not working out so well for my particular applications. I do have Capricorn tubing on the Jenny printer, so we're gonna mess with that here soon. I'm not sure that I'm quite ready to go up to like 260 degrees Celsius on the Jenny printer yet, because I think that's probably going to cause damage. So I also only have a borosilicate glass build plate right now for the Jenny. So I need to get a piece of mirror tile cut to size. So I may have to hire Mike to do that, because Mike's really good at cutting mirror tiles for his printers. So I'm probably going to have to ask him to just cut me one for the Jenny. That way I don't have to do it, because I'll just shatter it and break it all the time. So anyway, yeah, what else? So yeah, we had issues with the Bounine tube. Crappy filament was clogging up the nozzle. But it doesn't seem to care as much as my other printers about leaving filament parked in it. I probably don't recommend that if you're going to do that for a while, but oh, that's funny. Thanks, Mike. So let's see. The thermistors not been an issue. Bolts not been an issue. Under the bed, there are 12 wheels or V-slot wheels on this that ride the extrusions. You probably will have to adjust those to make sure that they all turn. You can tighten from the one side, and that'll allow you to kind of get those V-slots together a little bit better. I did notice that I think I had probably half of them spinning when I first got this, so I had to adjust that. The extruder assembly on the hot end side, I had to adjust those wheels as well. Who broke the wind? Get Home Depot to cut it. Just take in the mirror and they'll cut it for you. Okay, I will remember that. Although I could probably just buy another box of mirror tiles, because they're like $5 for the 12 by 12 inch mirror tiles that you'll probably be using a lot more of in this near future with the bigger build volumes and the cheaper prices. So yeah, the Bounine tube, I mean, the hot end assembly itself, not bad. The distance between the extruder motor and the hot end is actually not as bad as some of the other printers for the distance traveled. Like my Jenny printer is like twice the distance for the Bounine tube from the extruder motor to the actual hot end assembly, or the Olsen block on that one. So that's a whole lot of wasted filament. That's one of my biggest reasons for preferring the direct drive. Plus, you have a lot more flow control with the direct drive. But now that I'm using Bounine tubes, I'm trying to be open-minded. So let's see. There's not really a whole lot of issues that I'm having with the actual hot end itself, other than the occasional jams, but you're going to get those on any printer. Especially with PLA. PLA has a tendency of crystallizing when it gets too hot. So if you let it sit too long, and even though the temperature is only reading X amount of degrees, it's not really acting like that on the filament itself. So it kind of loses all its oils, and then it crystallizes, and then you end up with this big chunky mess that reduces the amount of filament you can push through the nozzle, and then your stepper starts to click, and everything goes crazy. And only 4 likes. Oh, that's all right, Derek. Thanks, though. And hello. So what else do we got? The spool holder on the... Well, here, I guess I can... Let me turn this so you guys can see the printer at this point, so I can kind of cover this. I know that my face is beautiful in the morning and you want to see it, but... So the filament spool holder in the diagram shows it being turned the other way. So this arm is actually coming this way. I had better luck with it where it is. So that is one thing that I did differently. The runout sensor for the filament is, it works fine. I haven't had any errors. So like on some of the filaments, if this wiggles around too much, it can actually cause that mechanical sensor, the end stop sensor, to go out of position, and it'll cause the printer to think that it's out of filament. That has not been a problem for me on this, so I will say that's a good thing. The overall performance on the build plate has been exactly what I would want in a printer. If you look, you could probably see some of the scars that I have on this printer. That's because there was points in time where my build plate actually deviated by about 3 to 4 degrees Celsius, and it caused the nozzle to actually hit the bed. So this is what I was talking about, making sure that your bed temperature is stable before printing. That's going to prevent these issues from occurring. The snap-on sensor that they use for calibration on the auto bed mesh leveling system, make sure you plug it in first here and then connect it here with the magnet. It makes your life a lot easier. And when you remove it, again, same thing, remove it from here, or you can actually unplug it. But I would recommend taking it off here first. And then right here, just use the tip of your fingernail, grab the plastic, not the wire, and remove it. That way it's going to last longer for you. Battle scars, or bad or scars. Yes, you are just full of puns today, Brian. Let me get caught up here. So Brian is saying that so far all you have is direct drive printers. Like I said, I prefer the direct drive printers myself. I think you have much more control, much more options. I think the Titan Aero from E3D, I think that's in direct drive. You can also get the skinnier, whatever you want to call them, the pancake stepper motors to bring your profile down on the NEMA 17, so they still work just as good. All puns all the time. He's just a punny guy. The interface on the Chiron is exceptional. Okay. I had the InStone 3D printer, which was the first printer that I ever had with a touchscreen interface. I know you can't really see the display, so I apologize for that. But it's just the way it is. I'll try to. Well, you can sort of see it, but not great. Sorry. It's laid out very well, so you can actually go through and figure out what you're doing. The directions are pretty good for the assembly process. But yeah, tools, more, level. It's right there. That gives you two options, actually. That gives you the first option, which is to use the probe. And the second option is to do the advanced settings. The advanced settings, if you are printing on your build plate, for example, and you have an error, like maybe this side is just a little too close for your happiness, or maybe this spot here is too close for your happiness, or this is too far away, or whatever, you can actually go in and you can microstep it right here on the panel, which is great. And then it remembers it. It says, okay. So next time it comes down, Holmes does its little leveling protocols and stuff like that. It remembers those values, and it will keep it in line. Again, only mess with that when you know the printer is temperature stable on the build plate. Okay, if this is not like stable temperature wise, it's not going to matter how many times you microstep it. Eventually, you're going to bury your nozzle into your ultra base. So just keep that in mind. So don't go crazy. If you're gonna print something at 60, just keep it at 60. Okay, if you're planning on changing your filaments to more exotic filaments, I don't really recommend going too much higher than 220 on this extruder. Then I would recommend, if you're going to go up higher with this, re-level it. That's all you got to do. Just run the utility, do a test print. You know, if it's not right, do it again. It's not necessary to level this with the hot end heated. In fact, I probably wouldn't recommend. I would advise against heating up the nozzle, because you have a magnetically clipped on piece of, end stop pressure switch thingy underneath a hot end that's not being used. So I wouldn't bother with that. Hello, Don. How are you, buddy? Let's see. We get caught up real quick. Hey, there's nothing wrong with a D9. How does it probe? BL touch or the other way? Well, okay. It's not really a BL touch. It's not that dissimilar from a BL touch. I'm sorry, I have to move the camera so I can show you this real quick, because we are happy to oblige. One of the things, too, I recommend, if you have multiple printers, get yourself some of these. This is a little toolbox I got at Harbor Freight. It has a few of these little containers in it, and I can keep my printer tools for each printer organized. The probe is this. Look at all this magnet. Get it. Hold on. Let me get that off. All right. So this is your probe. Okay. This is a pressure switch, just like this. And what it does is it comes down, it touches the bed, beep, clicks it again, and then it goes back and does it again. And it just keeps doing that. So this actually, it's as accurate as I think a lot of things are. I'm not going to say it's more accurate than a BL Touch. I'm not going to say it's more accurate than, a Prusa system. I'm not going to say it's more accurate than anything else. But for this printer, this has been very accurate, as long as you understand that you may have to do it a few times. So, yeah, this comes down. It gets clipped underneath the, well, here, I'll show you if you haven't seen this yet. The wire, again, gets clipped to the top, and this gets mounted to the bottom. There's a little magnet block a little metal block under here that I can't. I usually have it higher up than this, so, oh my God, I can't reach it. There we go. And then it just sits there just like that. And then it will come down, and it's going to touch a bunch of points on the build plate, just like that. And it's going to keep doing that all the way through to the end. It takes about 5 minutes or so to do each leveling sequence. So if you're going to run it like me, you do it like 4 or 5 times just to make sure you get the precise level point. Then just be prepared to take a few extra minutes of your day and get it done right the first time. So, all right. So what else do we got? Structurally speaking, this printer is very sturdy. I have moved this printer several times after leveling, and it has not affected the level. Okay. Let me say that again. I have moved this without having to re-level it. Okay. Anybody that has used any other printer in the world knows that when you move a printer from one workspace to another, means that this is no longer level. I have not had that problem with this. In fact, I've actually had this flipped over on its back, working on the wires, and it still stayed level. So yeah, very stable frame. Well, I can't really show you because my workbench is moving. This is not the, well, you can't see. Hey, look at that. This setup here is actually, I like this better than the CR10S, because this actually does have a little bit more manipulation of the spring. So you can actually close that gap. So you're not, if you're starting to chew up filament, you can back it off a little bit. Or if you're not getting enough pressure, you can kind of put it in a little bit better. The sound or the vibration dampened stepper driver in the back still throws me off. This machine is not the quiet machine. Okay, it is somewhat loud. Oh, look at that. I never noticed that before. So my bed's actually kind of racked a little bit. It looks like. Not by a much, but it also could be just an optical illusion. So, but I just was sighting it along the side here, and it just kind of looked a little odd. I don't know if you can see that. But yeah, I was sighting down here, and where it was sitting right here, it looked kind of like, so this is touching, and then this is not. So, okay, my eyeball is working. So, yeah, it looks like either there's something not plumb with the frame, or the build plate's actually not perfectly, parallel, perpendicular, whatever, with the rest of the machine. So, I just noticed that. It's not affecting the print quality though, so I'm not going to really concern myself over that. Everybody loves optical delusions. So Brian, I have looked at my ANA A crossways and had to relevel it, but my monoprice Maker Select Mini or Maker Select Plus printers, and my Mark III, I can move those around willy-nilly and they stay level. Yeah, and that's awesome to be able to say that, because I'm looking for a travel printer, one that I can actually take around with me to different places. So I can do demonstrations at like a couple of libraries that are local. No concerns about the power supply. That's been performing admirably. The power switch, I like that. It's actually integrated into the chassis right here. So I can just go and it turns off. That's great. I love that. I don't have to unplug it and arc things. The SD card reader's right here on the side, which that's not helping either. And you have a standard printer port right here. So works good. Ender 3 is a great portable printer. I'm trying to find an enclosed printer that I can use as a portable. Like the was it the M3D, or there's a couple of different versions out there. But it's not a priority thing right now, though. The cable management system, this chain, has performed exactly the way it's supposed to. This is actually a really good layout. I've had other printers that have had this system, and I ended up putting too much stress on the wires while I was printing. But this actually seems to do pretty well so far. It's got plenty of space in there for it to move. So it's like a little bit oversized for the wire, which is a good thing. You need a good improbable printer. Don't do that in the middle of a print, though. Oh, the turning off the thing? No, I wouldn't recommend turning a printer off in the middle of a print. Although there are printers that I have that I actually have to do that in order to turn it back on and move the Z-axis up. So like if I have a catastrophic failure and like the nozzle gets buried into the part or something weird because there was a G-code failure, I've had to do that, but I don't recommend it either. You're right. They have a weird linkage in the back here for the the Y-end stop, which, I mean, it is what it is. Plus they've, again, like I said, they resiliently mounted this stepper motor in the back. One thing I do appreciate, though, is that they hot glued most of the wiring on this printer, so you don't have to worry about things kind of like going, just popping off willy-nilly. You just have to worry about things like getting pinched and broken. But originally, this power wire coming off here was going right here. And that's between the chassis and the brain. So if you're running a wire between the chassis and the brain, this is a really tight spot even for this little, like the signal wire. So they were running power wire through here. So I'm kind of glad that I redirected it the way I did. So I kind of went underneath the brain and then came up underneath the build plate on this side of the drive cable of the belt. So that has worked out well. So, all right. So enough of that. Let's bring you back over here and we'll talk. Let's talk. So my impressions are overall favorable. Being completely subjective, if I had to put a measure of a printer in a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it a 7. But I'm also a very big kind of, I don't know. Oh man, my chocolate's melting. I got to put it in the fridge. When I say fridge, though, I mean the window. Because the window, oh my God, is not going to open because it's locked. Oh, man. I need some air movement in here anyway. Holy cow. Well, I think I'm going to need 2 hands to do this. Sorry. In the middle, I mean, how professional is that when I'm in the middle of a stream and I'm like, there we go. Let's let some air in. Okay. So I got the window open. Okay. So I like the printer, okay? It's big. It's not as big as I want it to be, but it's big. And it was reasonably priced at like, what, 500 and change? So okay, hold on. I got Justin 3D. Welcome. Sorry, I didn't even see you come in. Let's see. What do we got here? So I missed a lot, I guess. So you already say whether or not you would recommend this. Okay. For the new person getting into 3D printing, if you are capable of, reaching out to people that have one or have similar printers and you can fix things if they break, then yes, I would recommend this. Okay. It's got a pretty easy system to use. I have a friend that has one, and I'm looking forward to hearing his thoughts on it because it'll be his very first 3D printer to put together. So in terms of whether or not I recommend it for a new person, I don't see why not. I really don't. If anybody else has a different opinion, please let me know. It's worked well. I mean, it was easy to set up. It was easy to put together. It was easy to get running. I haven't used any of the free slicer software, though, with this. I've only used Simplify 3D. So that could be a deal breaker. But other than that, I wouldn't not recommend it. It's a pretty well put together machine, other than the issue I had with the build plate. But if you know that's an issue, you can kind of rectify that by keeping an eye on it and maybe making a small adjustment before you start running it. So let me check. Okay, so I gotta back up a little in the chat here because I'm a little behind. I went into a long-winded explanation on that. Let's see. Oh, welcome you to it. Sorry, buddy. Let's see. Back that chat up. Back that chat up. Mark III, Ender 3, and custom made. I would like a big build printer. This one has been on my radar. Yeah, if you've already done that, then I'd say absolutely go for it. I mean, there's nothing on this printer that you're not going to be able to just kind of figure out real quick. So yeah. Oh, hey, you're welcome. Yeah, and again, that's kind of the point in this, was to kind of put my 2 cents in. I know that there's plenty of other people that have already talked about the Chiron, and that's cool. I haven't. And as somebody that's kind of dumb, I really like to stop making stupid mistakes, and that being doing premature releases of opinions and reviews on printers when I haven't used them. It's great when you first get a printer, you got new box syndrome. When you open it, it smells new, it's printing great, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And then 2 weeks later, it's garbage. This printer has put in over 1,000 hours of print time. I've changed the nozzle once. I've swapped the Bounine Tube, but that was my fault because I went with a Capricorn. The build plate, I saw it. I should have adjusted, or I should have addressed it when I saw it, but I wanted to keep this thing stock running to make sure that my experience was realistic to what somebody else's experience would be. I haven't heard of any of the other cables or the power wires breaking yet, so I don't know if that's a thing. It could have just been a quality issue on my printer, but that is something that has been addressed. So, and the people at Anycubic were kind enough to send me another print bed to make sure that, my experience stays positive. So I have nothing but positive things to say about Anycubic at this point. So really that's a perk. I feel that I'm, able to say that because I've got over 1,000 hours of print time on this printer now, so I can make an informed, opinion. So I'm trying to see which design we're talking about. Are you talking about the Battlestar Galactica? Yeah, no, I did see your message. Sorry, I was on that tangent, so I wanted to get that out first. Okay, but yeah, let me know about the Battlestar, and that's the original series. Cleaning our teeth using the 3M headlight restoration kit. Good grief. So Anycubic support was good. Do they have a warranty on the printer then? I think you need to look at it as any other Chinese manufacturer. The warranty you get is at the pleasure of the company producing it. Anycubic is trying to keep their reputation good, so I would say that they're going to be much more responsive, especially considering how many printers they have right now that are on the market or going to be on the market. So I think that companies like Anycubic, companies like Creality to a degree, are going to be much more likely to address your needs. Now, I bought my printer directly from Anycubic. I did not buy it through a third-party vendor. A lot of the Creality printers are sold through third-party vendors. So keep that in mind when you buy a printer. Your third-party vendor may be a reputable third party, and they may handle the warranty claim for you, okay? But there's other times where, specifically like me, I had to contact Anycubic because I bought it from them and said, hey, this is my problem. And they're the ones that sent me the new build plate. So yeah, there are times where it gets glitchy with warranty or support with different companies. So I can urge you to try and just follow up with other people that have dealt with that company if you're kind of on the fence, if you're worried about something breaking. I know that if I had to buy a new build plate for this, it would have been cost prohibitive, because I imagine a 400 by 400 build plate that's heated at 24 volts is going to be probably expensive, especially with the Ultra Base. So I was glad that they were willing to send me a new one, so I didn't have to do that. But yes, Anycubic specifically is who I'm addressing right now, directly, not third party, directly. Anycubic has been excellent for me in regards to getting a new build plate and handling the challenges I have here. I've also been told by other people that they have used their customer support before to talk them through small issues, not necessarily Chiron related, but other Anycubic printers, and they have been available to talk. And that could be either via like chat or email. And I know that a lot of those companies in China, they don't use Skype. They use a different chat, which is a WeChat is I think one of their preferred ones. So don't be surprised if somebody asks you to set up a WeChat account just so they can talk to you and get things done. Oh, absolutely. It is my pleasure. All right, so yeah, I got to keep this short because I really don't want. I got other things I got to get going. I really wanted to just kind of get this out there to you before Christmas and the holidays. So, because I know that people are entertaining buying printers for family or for friends or for themselves for the Christmas holidays. And I really want you to have a positive experience in 3D printing. The Chiron has been a positive 3D printer for me. I have no doubt that we're going to continue printing on this with, much more happiness. So that being said, unless you have any other questions, I'm going to get off here, and I'm sure that I will see you on a stream with Wiley3D. So if you're not subscribed to him, please do so. He's an excellent guy, and he's fun to hang out with, and he puts up with me. So, what can I say about that? So yeah, check him out at Wiley3D. And of course, check out Don over at the German Printing Nerd, and Ron over at the Canadian Maker Project. So there's a lot of people in this stream that have their own channels that could benefit from your help by just going and checking out their content. If you don't like them, don't subscribe. Take a look at a couple of videos, see if you like them. If you don't like me, give me a thumbs down. I like those just as much as I like thumbs up. So, and of course, if you don't like my content, you don't have to subscribe either. But if you like my content and you want to help me get to the next level on better content, you could also become a Patreon. I mean, just kind of getting that out there. I have a couple of awesome, Patreon subscribers, Matt and Kelly. Both of which I have seen in the chat today. So I thank you both for your patronage and continued support. And for everybody else, thank you for being here. And I hope to do another stream before Christmas. But if not, you have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, happy printing, make things awesome, design your stuff, and see what 3D printing can do for you. And don't forget, you can always share with me too. So, come over to my Facebook side on Prototype This 3D, or you can visit me on Twitter at CBFord76, or you can post comments on my videos here, and or you can even share on Discord. So with that being said, you guys have a Merry Christmas, and I will see you guys later.